Hi, it's Wednesday, and that means it's time for another video edition of Widower Wednesday. I'm Abel Keogh, author of the book Dating a Widower, and today we're going to discuss more uncomfortable truths about dating a widower. I posted a video a while back with 10 uncomfortable truths about dating a widower. Here's 10 more uncomfortable truths about dating widowers. This can be uncomfortable truths. I'll name them 11 through 20. So again, this is great just to kind of know. It helps you understand how widowers think, why they act the way they do, and it gives you some idea of whether or not dating a widower is right for you, and if some of these issues come up, how to best deal with them. So without further ado, here are uncomfortable truths 11 through 20. Uncomfortable truth 11. Widowers are triggered by memories of the late wife more often than you think, especially if they're recent widowers. I should probably add that, especially if it's in the first year or two of loss, they're probably triggered way more often than you think. If it's 10 years out or 5 years out, probably not as often. But recent widowers are triggered more often than you think. It could be a song, something somebody says. They could just be driving down the street and, I don't know, see something that reminds them about something that happened with the late wife. Widowers are triggered, and this is, in fact, normal. So, they could be triggered, 10 times a day, 100 times a day. The point is that they are triggered. Now, there's nothing you can do about being triggered. We're all triggered by certain things. Maybe you hear a song or something and it reminds you of a past love or, a special day, a special memory. Being triggered isn't the issue here. The issue is, excuse me, the issue here is, what do widowers do after they're triggered? Now, a widower who's ready to move on, most of the time, you won't even know he's triggered and he'll, entertain a thought for a second or two and move on. That's the healthy and good way to deal with all these triggering moments. Bad thing is if a triggering moment happens and it's like a punch in the gut and there's tears and stuff like that. Now, once in a while that happens, that's fine, but if it's like a daily thing or a quite often thing where something triggers a widower memory and there are emotions involved and you can sense that, that's kind of a red flag. That maybe means the widower is not quite ready or to a place where he can open his heart. So just something to think about is widowers are triggered way more often than you think. Uncomfortable truth number 12. The death of their wife didn't make widowers lousy parents. Odds are they were a lousy parent before she died. One of the things I deal with in coaching sessions and through email and stuff all the time is, what a bad parent a widower is. And I know that being a widower puts a lot of demands on people, and it's not easy, and I don't envy widowers who have kids at home and are single parents. I think that it's a very honorable job, but it's also a very difficult one. But I always get comments and things like, why is he's such a bad parent? And the truth is, he probably wasn't that great of a parent, or maybe he didn't do a lot of the parenting when the wife was alive. Maybe he's trying to figure it out, or maybe it's also common for widowers just to kind of forego parenting and spoil the kids and cause all kinds of problems. But just so you know, this is not something that just happened once his wife died. He either wasn't involved in the parenting or he wasn't a good parent to begin with. That doesn't mean he can change and change his parenting to make things better. But just keep in mind, don't use the excuse, well, my wife died, that's why I'm a bad parent. That doesn't cut it in any respect. Anyway, uncomfortable truth number 13. Most widowers hesitate to tell others about their new love because they're afraid it'll cost them another relationship. Widowers are very adverse to loss. I mean, they've already lost probably the person that they loved more than anything. And when they get involved and start dating again, that relationship can disrupt other relationships, whether it's with their children or with in-laws or, the former in-laws of the late wife's family, or just other things. The new relationship comes along and it could disrupt that. And that's the big reason why widowers don't want to tell others that they're dating again, because especially like family and close friends, because they're afraid that means, that they'll reject the widower in that relationship. And that means, he has to make a choice whether between this woman or, the former in-laws, and they're very adverse to loss. I get it. I've been there. We all have to make choices, but not wanting to tell other people about a relationship. If that's kind of where you are in a relationship, maybe you shouldn't be in a relationship. So I'm telling you some of the psychology behind it, why they maybe hesitate to do it. But at the same time, it's like, if you're going to be big enough to date again, you've got to be big enough to go with the consequences. And remember that you can't control the thoughts or actions of other people. They reject you because you decided to fall in love again. Well, that's their problem. It's not your problem. So don't let the thoughts or actions of others dictate your happiness and your direction in life. Uncomfortable truth number 14. It's common for widowers to seek out and date women they know or were friends with before they were widowed. There is comfort in the familiar. You would be, I think, if people, I'd say probably somewhere between 60 and 70% of widower relationships that I deal with, the widower knew the person that he's dating before he was widowed. It doesn't mean they were having an affair. That's not what I'm getting at. But it could be, maybe they dated in the past. They worked together. They're neighbors, things of that nature. But it's very common for widowers to seek out and date women that they know on some a level. It's something I did. My first relationship before Julie was with someone that I knew that I had never dated or anything, but I had, a friendship with. Before I was widowed. So again, nothing necessarily wrong with that. Oftentimes these relationships do work out, but you have to understand that a lot of the psychology behind it is that there's comfort in the familiar, and it's easy to go to a person and maybe even have open your heart or have a relationship with someone that you're already comfortable with. That doesn't mean they're doing it for the right reasons, but that's just kind of maybe some of the unconscious thought process behind it, is that you're already a friend, you're already a past love, and it's just a little bit easier. It's not like you're dating a stranger and got to kind of get to know each other. They already know you, so the relationship can progress a little bit faster. So just keep that in mind. Uncomfortable truth number 15. Most widowers won't seek therapy or counseling because it's geared to helping women, not men, heal. Now, this is the fault of the industry. It's not the fault of the widower. When you think about therapy and things of that nature, it's very, you sit there and you talk about your feelings, and that's not the way that men go. Men are very solution-oriented. They're very action-oriented, and though it does help to some degree for them to talk about the feelings, it's not necessarily, in the long term, it's not necessarily going to solve their problems. So again, that's not the fault of the widower. That's just kind of the way the industry is kind of focused. That's why you see women seeking out therapy more than men, and why men kind of have an adverse reaction to it. The best therapy for men is honestly it's finding male friendships. It's doing things. Men heal. Men express their feelings through action, and finding ways to do it that way. Now, I'm not saying that therapy isn't helpful. You probably want to look for more solutions-based therapy. By the way, if you ever do a coaching session with me, whether you're a male or a female, yes, you can talk, and if your feelings, if you need some validation to your feelings, I'm there to, and I will honestly give validation to your feelings if it's, if that's what is needed and honest. But my coaching sessions are very solution focused. So like if a widower gets on the phone with me, and maybe wants a gut check, or he has questions about the relationship, or opening his heart. Yes, we talk about it to a degree, but really the session is focused on finding solutions and what do you need to do and doing things, and not just sitting here and talking. So just kind of a heads up. But anyway, if you want therapy, if a widower out there is looking for therapy or counseling or something, it should be more solutions focused more than validation feelings. And again, I think a lot of widowers can heal better if they actually had good male friendships and activities that they could do through healing, instead of just sitting there with someone and talking. Anyway, my 2 cents on that. But that's why widowers often don't think therapy and counseling is because it's really not geared towards helping men. It's geared toward helping women. Uncomfortable truth number 16. The main reason widowers can't get rid of the late wife stuff is because of all the memories attached to them. Physical objects are emotional, and it's kind of weird to think about that. But if you think of photographs or houses or things of that nature, there are lots of memories associated with that. And those memories and those emotions can be very powerful. And that's why you see a lot of the hesitation. It's like taking down the shrine is taking down some of these memories and some of these things like that. And it's not to say that they can't do it, but again, getting inside a widower's head, and not just a widower's head, his kids and other things like that. A lot of times you see all this stuff. It's hard for them to take the clothes out of the closet, and do other things they need to clean up the house, because it's, there's a memories attached, and it's really emotionally, and it can be very overwhelming and emotionally draining. And so, I know that, I've talked to people where, again, they have whole houses of stuff, and it's just this overwhelming task, and the widower can't do it. There's books, by the way, I can recommend that make this process easier, but I'm just pointing out that this is kind of the psychology behind it, is that it can be a very emotionally draining task to give the late wife stuff away, or throw some of it away, or box it up. And I think it's an emotionally healing task and something that's very good. But just again, to understand that, there's memories attached to things, and it's not just widowers. I know that if you thought about your life and things like that, you have good memories associated with places and things, and you might have knickknacks or something that remind you of a vacation or whatever. Again, same thing, but it's kind of like I'm putting this away. I'm putting these memories and my late wife away and things like that. But that's kind of the main reason, is that there's just a lot of strong memories attached to him. Ideally, he should love you more than these memories. The memories aren't going to go away just because the trinket goes into the box or whatever, or into the trash. But that's a sign. That's why I always say, if he's not willing to put the stuff down, he's not willing to make you number one, because these emotions and these memories hold more value to him than your actual relationship. So that's an uncomfortable truth, I guess. Uncomfortable truth number 17. Despite having long and happy marriages, most widowers are clueless how female communication works. They provide solutions instead of validation. This is something that men need to learn over and over again. Men are very problem-oriented and problem-solving oriented. So you give them a problem, they try to fix it. And a lot of times when you talk to a widower about something, maybe you're not looking for a solution, you're looking for validation. Like, can you understand why I feel this way? That you haven't taken down why the shrine's up. And widowers get defensive, and they kind of go into problem solving mode instead of saying, yeah, I can understand why that would bother you. Anyway, just pointed out that they're clueless how most female communication works. There's a great chance to educate them, and in fact, for both people, I see communication as being a big issue in widower relationships, where one or both people are hesitant to bring up topics and talk about them and things like that. But it is something that you can train widowers on, how to listen to you and things like that. It does take some work on both your parts, but it is possible. So keep that in mind. Uncomfortable truth number 18. Most widower relationships would be better off if he spent less time caring what everyone else thinks of their relationship. I can't tell you, it's like, you get into a relationship and it's kind of like high school again, right? It's like, well, what is so-and-so going to think? What are my parents going to think? What are all these people going to think? And not that those concerns aren't valid. Yes, I think it's normal to get into a relationship and worry what people will think, because, especially if it's a short time since the late wife died. I know that my first relationship after Krista died, my first serious one, I hid the fact that I was dating. I hid the fact that I was in a serious relationship for a long time, because I did care what others think. And there's nothing wrong with caring what others think to a degree. But if you let the thoughts and feelings of others control your dating life and control your life in general, that is not healthy. And I will give you this tip as well, that when widowers find the person they're ready to open their heart up to, they won't care. They will not care what anyone else thinks of the relationship. They don't care. So keep that in mind. So if the widower is caring too much, let's just put it that way, what people think of the relationship, or he's worried about it, maybe he needs to get over, he needs to stop caring what people think. But at the same time, maybe he needs to do a self-evaluation whether this really is a relationship that he wants to move forward. There you go. How's that for an uncomfortable truth? Uncomfortable truth number 19. Widowers don't change overnight. This is something I see, that people think that, once a widower falls in love and whatever, opens his heart, that suddenly he changes and things are better. And that's not the way it works. It's not the way people work. What you want to look for is in any issue with a relationship is you want to look for progress. Is today better than yesterday? Is today better than last week, last month, etc.? Basically, we're all human and we all have good days and bad days. And hopefully, if you're dating a widower and he's trying to change and make some changes, that he has more good days than bad days. But he might have a bad day once in a while, and just having a bad day, or falling back on old habits or old things doesn't necessarily mean the relationship's doomed. It just means that you have to have a perspective of progress and how much progress is he making. I have never met a widower in all the years I've been doing this coaching where the widower resolved to make a change and the next day he was a different person and never had a bad day ever again. That just doesn't happen. So again, what you want to look for is progress. Again, they're not going to just change and everything's going to be hunky-dory, but you should see progress and steady progress at that. It's not like you have one good day and 10 bad days. It's more like you have 5 or 6 good days and then maybe a bad day, or 5 or 6 good weeks and maybe a bad week. But you should be able to look back and say, yeah, it's not perfect, but he is way better now than he was last week, last month, etc. And that's what you want to look for. And uncomfortable truth number 20. If you're not able to regularly discuss the current state of the relationship, if the widower's not and you're not, odds of the relationship succeeding long term are right about zero. There's uncomfortable truths. I've been talking about this video and previous videos, uncomfortable truths about dating a widower. Well, you have to have uncomfortable conversations with widowers, and you both have to be comfortable doing it. And I know that it's hard to have conversations that you haven't had before. How do I talk about the ring? How do I talk about his spoiled kids? How do I talk about the photos on the wall, or whatever the issue is? But you have to get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. I have yet to coach a couple where they were regularly discussing issues and things didn't work out. Couples, again, I do couples coaching, and honestly, the ones that work out are the ones where they're able to learn how to communicate and of course solve problems. That's part of it too. But it's the couples where they're scared to communicate. They don't communicate. They don't learn how to communicate. They're not willing to take those chances that comes with communication. It's very rare that those relationships work out, if ever. The ones that work out are the couples that are willing to, again, have a solutions focused thing. Again, if you do a coaching session with me, I give you homework. I expect you to do the homework, and the homework might be, in the next 2 weeks or whatever it is, you're going to have these discussions, and if you haven't had the discussions, it's, again, they're uncomfortable discussions, but the only way these widower issues get solved is with communications and of course solutions. But don't be scared on either side, whether you're a widower or dating a widower, to have if you're not really to discuss where the relationship is at, where you see it's going, what issues need to be addressed, it's just not gonna succeed. People aren't mind readers. People can't read your mind to know that something's a problem, and if you let the problem fester and it's not resolved, then the whole thing blows up. I'm giving you 15 years of coaching experience here. You've got to be able to have uncomfortable talks with a widower, and if you can't, it doesn't matter if the widower is ready to open his heart or you're ready to fall in love with him. Long-term success is practically zero. So there you go. There are 10 more uncomfortable truths about dating a widower. If you want me to address some more, have your own uncomfortable truths, go ahead and leave them in the comment below. If you want to reach out to me by email or schedule a coaching session, you can do so at www.abelkeogh.com. That's ABELKEOGH.com. And also feel free to like and subscribe this video. Share it with friends, family, the widower you're dating, whoever you think could benefit from learning some uncomfortable truths. I'm Abel Keogh, author of the book Dating a Widower, and I will see you next Wednesday.